There are new troop movements by Russian troops near Ukraine, and there's a fresh round of threats coming this morning. We are hearing new warnings from the White House as well that more economic sanctions may be on the way. Congressman McCaul, House Homeland Security Chair, joins us this morning with a little bit of insight into some of these things. We were supposed to have a deal for the Russians to pull back. What's happening now?
Well, you have to look at the whole situation. I don't think the Russians are really negotiating in good faith. I think Mr. Putin, when I was over in Russia, I got a sense of restoring, the empire of old days. And
the USSR, the old USSR.
Precisely. And Ukraine was part of that, the Baltic states. And I think this is part of an overall long-term strategy to win over the Russian-speaking people in these areas. What we're seeing in Crimea perhaps could be a model for the rest of the Baltic states. Now, it's a very complex situation right now. I don't think anybody wants our troops over there. Sanctions, we've done that in the Congress. I have a bill, though, that would lift the ban of crude oil and natural gas exports. I think this is a very smart move because Russia strangles Ukraine and the Baltic states with their energy. So why not create more jobs here in Texas with the Eagle Ford Shale and the United States, and also export our crude oil and natural gas to that region of the world to help them be more independent from Russia.
How soon could something like that take place, though?
Well, I've introduced it. It's been referred to Foreign Affairs, on which I serve as well. And so we think that this could move on a fast track. Once approved, it could happen almost immediately. And
you're talking about barges set up near ports over there that we would offload our oil and our gas on.
Precisely, and I think that's a better demonstration of power than perhaps these sanctions. I think it would have more impact and more effect than what we're currently doing.
Okay, now I want to change the subject. The FAA has gotten into a little bit of a tizzy with a group called EquiSearch because of drones. They're saying you can't use them, but EquiSearch has always used them to find bodies or find missing people. What's going to happen with the regulation of drones, or should they not be regulated?
Well, the issue of drones has gotten a little controversial as of late. I will tell you, the reported drone strike in Yemen with Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is hugely significant and a positive thing in terms of homeland security. AQAP presents the greatest threat externally to the United States and to the homeland. So if we can take the threat out there through drone strikes so they can't come into the United States, that's a positive thing. Now, when you look at domestically, internally in the United States, that's where I think you're going to see the FAA start to regulate that more. If it's a legitimate law enforcement mission or emergency response mission, I think drones have a role there. But I think the general population don't want these drones just sort of spying, hovering around people's backyards, out by the swimming pool, in the summertime, and you see these drones. I think that's what most people don't want to see.
Real quick, regulation's a good thing with the drones.
Well, I think the FAA is looking at certain restrictions in terms of the use of drones, and I think we have to always balance security versus privacy. And I think if it's just an exercise to, spy and get information, I think that's not a legitimate exercise. If it's a true law enforcement emergency response, that's a completely different issue.
Congressman Michael McCaul, thank you for joining us this morning.
Jose, thanks for having me.
You have a blessed weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Melissa.